But Brandon, let's move on into the next team, and we got the Texas Tech Red Raiders. And we are, what's the one thing I always think of when I think of Texas Tech?
Touchdown, Red Raiders!
Crabtree, pulls free,
Touchdown, Red Raiders!
That's what I always. That's what I always think of when I think of your team, Red Raider Nation. But I got 2 questions for you to start this one off, Brandon.
I will only answer one.
Okay, but I'll ask you the most important one first then. The first one has to do with a guy we love to talk about, the Ryan Gosling lookalike in Cliff Kingsbury, the coach that goes on the recruiting trails, and moms just fall in love with him. They just have a thing for the Ryan Gosling lookalike. But this is going to be his, 5th season heading into 2017. 8-5, 4-5 his first year, 4-8, 2-7. Then 7-6, 4-5, and then last year 5-6 or 5-7, 3-6. Should Kingsbury be on the hot seat though, heading into his 5th year at Texas Tech?
Yes, and the reason that I say yes is because of the conference that you are in, and I don't want to say that it's an easy.
Probably one of the easiest.
I don't want to say that it's the easiest.
One of.
But But then again, the question would be, well, then which one's the easiest?
Maybe the Pac-12?
And it would probably be,
No.
Pac-12 is tough. But this one is, when you look at everything, the easiest to win. And I look at this, and I think that Texas Tech, with all the high firepower offenses that they have had and the amount of points that they can score in a real hurry. I mean, when you look and they score 69, 55, 59, 55, 38, 59, you should be able to win many more games than 5. You should. And when you can't do that and you find yourself near the bottom of the Big 12 and you're scoring all those points, I just don't know how you're able to do it. How are you able to score 524 points and be one of the bottom teams in the Big 12? The only other 2 teams that scored over 500 points were Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, and respectively finished 1st and 2nd in the Big 12 Conference. To be scoring that many points and find yourself all the way down at the bottom, it's unacceptable because the points that you give up, 522, 2 less points than the amount that you scored. You can't do that. You have to have some bit of defense to be able to win here. Your offense is good. We can see that. Defensively, you've got to change something. I mean, how blatant does that stare you in the face that you have to change something? And how crazy would that be making Texas Tech fans knowing if you could just have a defense, you could have a couple of wins, and you could finally try and make a run at the top of the Big 12, which, again, is doable. We've talked about it.
I'll tell you how. You ask how you can win 5 games with having the defense like it is. Have a top 10 quarterback and have arguably the best quarterback that your school has ever seen in Patrick Mahomes. Like, I pulled up the stats just to see where Texas Tech was team defensively, and I was reminded yet again, guess who led the league in passing yards last year among quarterbacks? Patrick Mahomes. 5,052 yards. That's, though, how Texas Tech has always been. It's been all about the air raid offense, and it's like
But
it's
this
like
is,
the Big 12 versus the defense.
But this is almost a problem, Ricky. It's almost an
problem.
It's almost an epidemic.
It's a
because
problem.
what a waste of good quarterbacks to not win anything. Oh, you won the Hannah Montana Bowl? Good for you, Johnny. No one cares.
Hannah Montana
if you
Bowl.
don't win. That's going to be the new one this year.
Oh, I love it.
What if you could finally have a quarterback and an offense that gets to a playoff game? What if you could finally have an offense that gets to a legitimate bowl game that was able to find themselves in the Rose Bowl? What if you could do that? Then you put that high-flying offense on display in a big arena, on a big stage, and they get to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And then it finally means something. Because right now, you're putting guys out there, you're putting them through, they're getting some good stats.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's just all they're able to put up. I participated.
Do you know
that's what they're able to put up?
Do you know their point, like Texas Tech's point differential last year? Like how many points they scored compared to how many they let up? +2. +2. Like it's great that you're scoring over 43. I think it's 43.7. Top 5 scoring offense in all the land last year, to kind of put it in a kind of medieval twist. However, you're giving up 43.5 points per game, which if we're going from lowest to highest, the 128th ranked defense in points per game last season. So Kingsbury, I think, should be on the hot seat, because another thing I'll throw out there is 13-23. That is his record in Big 12 games, and that simply just is not good. However, I do not want Texas Tech Red Raider fans thinking that, you know what, why did I click on this preview? They're just shitting on my head coach. There is one position that is the most, besides like we mentioned the defense, we could talk the defense until we're blue in the face.
No need to. It's
the
not
point
changing.
is the defense needs to get better, which I don't think it will be under Kingsbury. But the big position coming in that we're talking about is quarterback, because this team, this Texas Tech team, really it comes down to one guy. It comes down to the senior who was a 2014 Iowa transfer in Nick Shimanek. I was practicing in my head. Shimanek. And he's apparently going to be the heir apparent to Mahomes. Do you want to know why, Brandon? Do you want me to tell you why?
Yes.
All their other quarterbacks have never have never taken a snap at the FBS level. So really it's like, hey, you know what? We're going to either throw a guy out there that's never taken a snap at the FBS level, or we're going to go with the senior in Nick Shimanek. And I'm not saying that that's a poor choice, but this is a team that it's like, okay, it is all in on this senior, and we're going to see what he's got, because the rest of our quarterbacks have never played at this level, have never taken a snap at this level.
And Shimanek, who played in 4 games in 2016, 38 of 58, 464 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. So you get a little bit of a taste there on what he was able to do last season. And the reason why I have a lot of hope for him is because he is in the Big 12, quarterback, Big 12, on one of the most high prolific Big 12 offenses. He's going to be just fine. But what I do need to say, and just get off my chest really quick, and then have the hate bash come on me from our lovely viewers, and I do truly mean that. We appreciate all of you guys who tune in. But it is the fact that Kingsbury and his defensive staff are doing a disservice to this team by not producing better, by not going and getting better, by not having a focus defensively. Disservice to the team, disservice to the fan base, disservice to the school. That's what he's doing. By not having a better defense, a stronger defense that can hold up with your absolutely outstanding offense, that is a disservice. And I think that you can have strong guys, and I'm not saying that every defensive player on Texas Tech is bad. I'm just saying that
overall they're not good.
They have not held up. They have not been able to collectively, as a group, be able to put it together and finally make an impact that shows on the field, in the standings, and eventually gets you to where you want to be in the playoffs. But that's not happening. And if yet again that does not happen this year, you have to take a look at, yes, you are so happy with what you've done offensively. We could talk about that forever. But defense, which again we also could talk about for a long time, it's not there. And we're not saying that you need to get someone who's from the Big Ten to come over, be the defensive coordinator, and now all of a sudden we're only giving up 10 points a game. No, that's not what we're talking about. Because in the Big 12, you would literally win every game if that's what you did. But someone who can, okay, they're now averaging 20 points a game, 25 points a game. It's unacceptable, the amount of points that you're giving up each game and each season. And it is a disservice to your team, to your school, to your fan base. Enough said.
I don't like the schedule either. When I look at the schedule, like last year, besides going 2-1 in the non-conference, their only conference wins, Kansas at home, TCU on the road, Baylor at a neutral site. The only things I don't like, Kansas you can still beat because Kansas might not be good this year altogether. TCU was an overtime win. It was a 3-point overtime win. That's a coin toss game. That could go the other way this year. Baylor, like I said, I don't know what to think about Baylor this year, if they're going to be good, if they're going to be bad. But that game could flip because of what Matt Rule. I'll put it this way. I got more confidence in Matt Rule than I do Cliff Kingsbury. And the thing I look at with this schedule, Houston, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Texas. What do all four of those teams have in common this year when it comes to Texas Tech?
They are on the road.
They're on the road. So that means you got to play Oklahoma on the road, loss. You got to play West Virginia on the road. Well, they beat you at your place. You ain't going to have much fun playing at their place. That's a loss. Houston's a question mark to me only because Tom Herman's not there. Oh, wait, but where is he? He's at Texas, which by the end of the year, Tom Herman could get his boys on a roll, and that is the most scary place
play the Longhorns. In that Texas game on the road.
Yeah, it's in Austin. So, and I mean, the Baylor game is a neutral site game, so that's technically another road game, but it's a road game for both teams in that neutral site. So, I mean, all of those games, I am not confident in Texas Tech. Like, I could see this year being 1-2 in the non-conference, win over Eastern Washington, maybe 2 if you beat Arizona State, but I'm going 1 win there. Kansas, Iowa State, and that could be it. Like, that is it. Maybe you beat Kansas State, maybe you beat TCU again. I'll go on their side because of your defense. 3 games: Eastern Washington, Iowa State, Kansas. That's it. Those are the 3 wins that I'm looking at going, yeah, I'm confident the Red Raiders will win.
So I think that even for me, I think that's a little low because of the fact that we have to remember how good that offense is. If you're going to score 50-some, 60-some points, that is, even don't even think about defense right now. That's going to keep you in just about every game. That's going to keep you in every game. Take out the just about. You're in every game. If you're scoring, and I'm not saying that they're going to do that at each game, but if you're 50s, if you're 60s in the points, every game or around there, you're in it. You're in it, you're probably going to win it. But even into the 40s, you're in the game. Now bring defense in. And
that's where everything falls.
But at the same time, though, you can't expect that Oklahoma State is going to come out. Maybe Oklahoma State comes out and they have a clunker. Maybe it has never necessarily anything to do with the defense. They come out, they just Mason Rudolph stinks that day.
And I know,
or Oklahoma just stinks that day.
And I know Red Raider fans are going to tell me, but Ricky, that was only a 1 point loss for us last year. It was 45-44 last year against Oklahoma State.
Outstanding. That's 2016. Welcome to 2017. But I think that's kind of the mindset here. Is I think you're underrating them a little bit, as people will tell me, as I've already berated their defense. But they are going to be in too many games with the way that this offense puts up points to only have 3 wins. The defense is such a factor. If we can actually see something change on the defensive side, we see this team catapult to the top. But until then, I still keep them in the 5 to 6 win category.
I won't. With me, 3-5. 3-5.
Here's where I'm saying. Your first two, Eastern Washington, Arizona State. You win those two. Kansas, there's 3. I will say Iowa State, because of the fact of the offenses that you've had for Texas Tech are just so good. So good. There's 4. TCU, I'll put 5. And maybe Kansas State would be 6.
I don't know. The thing that I look at this schedule with is I'm going back to a point that I made. Most of the tough games are on the road. If you look, and I know that you're saying, well, Brandon, it's 2016, welcome to 2017. You got to look at 2016 for some base, though. And the thing that I noticed last year in their schedule is that all but one of their wins, the TCU win, I know that the Baylor one you can kind of count as a road win because it was a neutral site, but it's a neutral site win. All of their wins otherwise, the other 3, SF Austin, Louisiana Tech, Kansas, all came at home. So that means 3 of your 5 wins came at home. 1 came on the road. It was an overtime win. Congratulations for winning it. And then you won the neutral site game at Baylor. Entering 2017, I've already gone over the slew of road games that you have. It's good that you've got Oklahoma State at home, I will say. Yeah, you beat them by 1, or you lost to them by 1 point last year. That could be a game to where the games that we go into, like Oklahoma State, like maybe Iowa State, I'll give you the win. However, I look at last year and I go 66-10, and it wasn't like Patrick Mahomes was hurt in that game. Like, he threw 2 interceptions in that game. I'm just not high on the Red Raiders this year. Not high on them. And the one thing, this is going back kind of the beginning that I'm kind of thinking about now, Kingsbury might, if they go 5-7, let's say they go 5-7.
Okay.
A repeat performance of last year. Kingsbury might be able to save his job. You want to know how he might be able to save his job? If he uses David Gibbs, who is the defensive coordinator entering his 3rd year, as a scapegoat. To me, that's the way he saves the job, because like we look at the defense. This is a Red Raider defense that was ranked last in the nation in both total defense and total scoring defense. Yet David Gibbs is entering his 3rd year as the defensive coordinator. So this year, like I said, I've got him maybe 3 wins, 5 wins is my ceiling with them. 3-5. I don't think you go below 3. I don't see you going above 5. That doesn't mean you can't.
Yeah.
Most of these games for Texas Tech is going to be the offense is really good and the defense is not as good. And it's going to come down to, well, offense, you got to score more points than the other opposing offense. Take the defense out of it. It's just going to be a barn burner all the way down, and basically whoever scores the more points and gets the more possessions is going to win the game. However, if that team, that offense, creates mistakes, gives the other team more opportunities with the ball, that will hurt them because of the defense they have on their side of the ball. So
here's one thing, again, that I just want to point out about the Texas Tech defense, and don't turn it off. The defense, and I'll give you the absolute stats and facts from last year. The secondary only had 5 picks, 5 interceptions the entire year.
Not good.
And 2 of the 5 were in the opener against Stephen F. Austin. The team was 4-0 when it came up with an interception. The pass rush, terrible. 14 sacks is all they were able to get. And they were not good on 3rd downs. And it says, I mean, right here in the article, the identity of the Texas Tech defense can't continue to be miserable. I think that's how I want to end it. It can't continue. This identity of this Texas Tech Raider defense, Red Raider defense, cannot continue to be miserable. And it cannot continue to be marred in this very, very, very mediocre play. And then be okay. And I say okay loosely because I don't think that they're okay with it. But allow it to continue each and every season.
I'm going to throw out, this is where I'll end it, defensively as well. I'm throwing out 2 names. These are your guys to watch, Red Raider fans, coming in to this year. The first one, Jordan Brooks. He's a linebacker. Recorded 86 tackles last year as a freshman. We need to see improvement as a sophomore this year. Another name, Dakota Allen. He was the leading tackler, or one of them, for Texas Tech in 2015, but spent last season in the junior college ranks. He is now back with Texas Tech. Those 2 guys need to step up. Brooks entering his sophomore year, Allen entering, he went to junior college, came back to Texas Tech this year. Those are the 2 guys that need to be cornerstones if this defense wants to turn it around. But I want to pose the question on to you guys. Number 1, did Brandon and I harp on the defense too much? Is the defense better than Brandon and I made it seem? What do you think? Shimanek coming out, being your starter this year. I know it wasn't officially named, but really he's going to be the quarterback this year. And also I want to know about Cliff Kingsbury. What do you guys think? Should he be on the hot seat? And could he be on the hot seat at the end of this year? Let us know down below in the comments section.